Hello one and all, and welcome to a quick build video. Now, going around lately, everybody's talking about wet pellets. What are they? What do they do? How can I make one? So on and so forth. Now, the general idea behind a wet pellet is you can put paint on it and it stays damp. You know, it's not going to go soggy and wet and awful, but on the other hand, it's not going to dry on your pellet because it happens to be 27 degrees with 75% humidity. For a very specific example. Now you can buy wet pellets, you can go to Amazon or eBay or what have you, or you can make one. And I've put it off for a while because I was, it's a new thing. And I'm always reluctant to try new things. I'm always telling people they should, but anyway. What I've got here is my wet pellet. And it doesn't look like much, does it? I've got this little box here. Now I want to touch on why I'm using this, because it's nice and shallow. And when you're painting, you don't have to reach over, the edge of something to get into your paint. And that was important. That's why I selected this. Now, if you want to get your hands on one of these, I'm using the Mordheim Turf one because it's what I had. Let's briefly touch on Citadel's basing stuff. The Mordheim Turf, all the love in the world, is not as good as a lot of the other tuft options that are out there. If you go to Army Painter or Gamer's Grass, for flowers, raggedy tufts, that sort of stuff, they will do you much better than that. But Citadel's actual static grass, okay? A lot of other companies I've encountered over the years, their stuff clumps up and it becomes these little dense nuggets, which you have to sort of sift through and separate before you can use it. Citadel static grass has never ever done that to me, and it's a lovely color. So if you want one of these containers, I would say go pick up some static grass, transfer that into another container, and then you can use this for making your wet pellet. So, without mucking about, let's get a look at the thing. Now, I haven't opened this for 15 hours since I used it last. And as you can see, it's a little raggedy after that time, but it is still wet. Now, to that end, I've got here one of Blacktree's American Infantry, and I've got some brown violet that has been there for 15 hours. It might be a little bit thin if I'm honest, but let's just chuck that on. You know what, after a second coat of that, I'd still call that good to go. So that gives you some idea of the purpose of these wet pellets, okay? Let's finish that off. So he's got one good coat in there. And that's it. That is the whole point of these things. It will save you so much in dried paint, and it will let you paint with the same color for way longer before you've got to muck about with it. So, how did I make it? Let's look at the gubbins. So we need just 3 things. 4 if you count the water. I've got here 3 sheets of toilet paper. Now these are 3-ply. You can adjust as necessary. You can also use a kitchen towel, but I'm using this because I've got it. And it worked. So bonus. All we do, chuck that in there. The convenient thing is that a piece of toilet paper is exactly the right size. So you haven't got to muck around with it. Then we take some perfectly ordinary water. And you want this whole thing to be wet. So slosh it around. And don't be scared of putting in more water. Okay, just make sure all of that paper is damp. Now, if you're worried that you've used too much water, just hold it up for a while, let the water collect at the bottom, and you can tip it out. All you need is the dampness that will stay behind on that paper naturally, okay? Then, with our wet paper, we grab some baking paper. Now, I've cut this to size. A roll of this will cost you nothing, and it will last forever. All you do is lay that on top, press it down towards the edges, and there is your wet pellet. Alright, it doesn't look like much, and you would be surprised how much of a difference it makes. Particularly when I'm painting, I've had to adjust how much I thin my paints down, because I don't need to as much anymore, because I'm not fighting the bloody atmosphere. So, that's all it is. And you've seen paint that was left there overnight, okay? These things have got a nice airtight lid, so you can put this lid on, go away, come back, and be painting the same miniature the next day. Alright, so guys, there you have it, how to make your own wet pellet. It costs you nothing in materials if you happen to have one of these things already. If you don't, like I said, I do recommend Citadel's Static Grass. So if you find that useful, or you've got your own suggestions, something else that works for you, let me know. Drop them in the old comments. Can't recommend it enough, guys. If you're not painting with a wet palette, that's as difficult as it is. Give it a shot.